It was a dull Monday morning when Hassan, a 32-year-old office worker, finally dragged himself to the clinic. For the past several weeks, he had been waking up with unusual fatigue. His head felt heavy, his throat was often sore, and he had caught the flu more times than he could remember. He thought maybe it was just the change of season or too much workload at the office, but something inside kept telling him this wasn't normal. He didn't have the energy he once had, and simple tasks felt exhausting. He was hesitant to go to the doctor, but when his mother firmly insisted, he gave in and booked an appointment with Dr. Saeed, a physician known for his sharp eye and years of experience. The moment Hassan walked into the room, Saeed didn't even look at the medical reports Hassan had brought. Instead, he looked closely at him, scanning the details that most people ignore. Doctors, after all, are trained to observe what others don't notice. Hassan sat nervously across the table, shifting in his chair, unsure of what to say first. But before he could speak, the doctor leaned forward with a slight smile. "You don't have to tell me everything right away, Saeed said calmly. "I can already see a few things that explain why you're feeling unwell." Hassan blinked in surprise. "You can tell, just by looking at me." The doctor chuckled softly. "Hygiene tells us more than you realize. The way a person maintains themselves, their small habits, their skin, their nails, even the smell that surrounds them, it all reveals what's happening inside the body. You might not know it, but your body has already been giving me signals." Hassan shifted uncomfortably, suddenly self-conscious. He hadn't expected the doctor to notice so much so quickly. The doctor reached for a pen and tapped it lightly against the desk, then gestured at Hassan's hands. "Let's start with these," he said. Hassan looked down at his fingers. The nails had a faint brownish tint, and dirt was visible underneath. He also had a few small cuts near his knuckles that hadn't healed properly. "These small details show me that you're not washing your hands regularly or thoroughly enough," the doctor explained. "When you eat, when you touch your face, or even when you rub your eyes, the bacteria and germs go straight into your body. That's why you keep catching infections and falling sick. Poor hand hygiene is one of the fastest ways to weaken the immune system." Hassan frowned. He knew the doctor was right. At work, he often grabbed snacks straight from the packet, scrolling on his phone at the same time. Washing hands before eating was something he had stopped caring about long ago. Before Hassan could defend himself, the doctor continued, this time pointing toward his mouth. "When you talk, I can sense a strong odor. That's not just from what you had for breakfast, it points to bad oral hygiene. Swollen gums, cavities, and bad breath aren't just cosmetic problems. They can lead to gum disease, which is directly linked to heart trouble. And in some cases, it also tells me that blood sugar might be higher than normal. Do you brush twice a day? Do you floss?" Hassan's ears turned red. I brush quickly in the morning. At night, I'm usually too tired." The doctor nodded knowingly. "That's what I thought. The bacteria in your mouth don't sleep when you do. They grow overnight, and that affects your whole system." As Hassan processed this, he shifted in his seat, crossing one leg over the other. That's when the faint smell of sweat reached the doctor. Without making him more embarrassed than he already was, the doctor smiled politely and said, "Your shoes and socks, you don't wash them regularly, do you?" Hassan's eyes widened in surprise. "How do you know?" "It's not hard to guess," the doctor said lightly. "Your feet give it away. The odor means fungi and bacteria are thriving. This can lead to fungal infections in athlete's foot. But more importantly, when I see this problem lasting a long time, I also think about circulation issues, sometimes even linked with diabetes. It's a small sign that points to bigger issues. By now, Hassan felt like he was being examined under a microscope. But the doctor wasn't being judgmental. His tone was firm yet kind, like a teacher guiding a careless student. He reached forward and brushed his hand across Hassan's shoulder, pointing at the flakes on his shirt. "See this dandruff? And your hair looks oily. That tells me you've been skipping showers. Maybe because of stress, maybe because of lack of time. But when you don't bathe regularly, bacteria and fungi grow freely. This causes itching, rashes, and even skin infections. It's not just about smelling fresh, it's about protecting your body." Hassan bit his lip. He hated to admit it, but sometimes during busy weeks, he didn't shower for 2 days straight. He thought no one noticed, but clearly, the doctor had. Then the doctor took Hassan's hand again and examined the nails closely. They were yellowish, uneven, and brittle. "Your nails are windows into your health," the doctor said. "These could mean a fungal infection. But they also tell me you might not be eating the right nutrients. Sometimes nails reveal vitamin deficiency, sometimes thyroid imbalance. Ignoring them is dangerous." Hassan swallowed hard. He had never thought something as small as nails could reveal so much. "Now tell me," the doctor continued, "how often do you change your bedsheets?" Hassan hesitated, feeling the weight of the question. "Maybe once every 3 weeks. The doctor shook his head. "That explains your recurring acne and the rashes you mentioned. Dirty bedsheets and towels collect sweat, dead skin, and bacteria. When you lie on them night after night, your skin keeps getting reinfected. You're practically sleeping with germs." The final observation came when the doctor looked at his ears and nose. "You have earwax buildup and a congested nose. You probably ignore these small areas, but hygiene here is just as important. Ear infections, sinus infections, breathing problems, they all start small. But neglect turns them into real issues." By the end of the consultation, Hassan sat quietly, his head lowered in shame. He had come thinking maybe he would get a prescription or a quick solution. Instead, the doctor had held up a mirror to his own careless habits. It wasn't stress, or overwork, or bad luck that had been making him sick, it was his neglect of simple hygiene. The doctor leaned back in his chair, his voice gentle now. "Don't feel ashamed. Many people make the same mistakes. But the good thing is, you don't need strong medicines right now. What you need is discipline. Fix these habits, and you'll start feeling healthier than ever." That day, as Hassan walked out of the clinic, he felt both embarrassed and hopeful. Embarrassed because he realized how careless he had been. Hopeful because the solution was in his own hands. He promised himself that things would change. He would start washing his hands properly, brushing and flossing twice daily, cleaning his shoes, showering regularly, trimming his nails, changing his sheets, and paying attention to the small details of hygiene he had ignored for too long. And as the rain poured outside, Hassan felt as if he was washing away his old careless self. The road to health wasn't through medicine alone. It began with small, daily habits that protected the body from sickness long before it arrived. The next morning, Hassan woke up earlier than usual. The doctor's words echoed in his mind like an alarm bell. He walked into the bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror. For the first time in months, he didn't just see a tired face with dark circles, he saw a man who had been careless with his own health. His untrimmed nails, the faint dandruff flakes on his shoulders, the dullness in his eyes, it all stared back at him as evidence of his neglect. He picked up his toothbrush and, instead of brushing quickly like he always did, he took his time. He brushed properly, even flossed for the first time in years, feeling a strange mix of guilt and determination. When he rinsed his mouth, he felt fresher than he had in weeks. It was a small step, but it made him realize how much he had been rushing through life without caring for himself. He decided to take a proper shower that morning. The warm water washed over him, and as he scrubbed away the layers of sweat and oil, it felt like he was cleansing more than just his skin. He was washing away old habits, old excuses, and old laziness. By the time he stepped out, dried himself with a fresh towel, and wore clean clothes, he felt lighter. He looked at his reflection again and noticed something he hadn't seen in weeks, a spark of confidence in his eyes. At the office, his colleagues noticed too. One of them remarked, "You look fresher today, Asan. Did you get extra sleep?" He just smiled and said nothing, but inside he felt proud. The change wasn't in sleep, it was in hygiene. As the days passed, he started practicing the small tips the doctor had given him. He carried a small sanitizer in his pocket and made it a rule to wash his hands before eating. It felt strange at first. So much water and soap, so many interruptions to his routine. But slowly, it became second nature. And surprisingly, he realized he wasn't falling sick as often. The cough that used to come back every other week didn't return. The headaches became less frequent. At home, he tackled his room. He pulled off the old bedsheet, embarrassed at how it smelled when he shook it out. He washed it and put on a fresh one. That night, when he lay down, he felt like he was sleeping in a new space. The cool, clean fabric touched his skin, and he felt a comfort he hadn't experienced in months. He also decided to rotate his towels every 2 days. It was a hassle at first, but he noticed his acne slowly began to fade, and his skin didn't feel irritated anymore. His mother noticed too. "You're changing your sheets more often now," she said with a smile. "It makes me happy. I used to scold you about it, but you never listened." "What happened?" He laughed and told her about his doctor's visit. She nodded knowingly. "Doctors don't just heal with medicine, Beta. They heal by reminding us of what we've forgotten." Asan also worked on his nails. He trimmed them short, cleaned them properly, and applied oil to strengthen them. He never realized how much confidence clean hands could give. At meetings, he no longer felt embarrassed to place his hands on the table. Even his handshake felt firmer, as if his self-esteem had returned with this simple act of care. But the biggest change came with his oral hygiene. Brushing at night was something he forced himself to do in the beginning. Sometimes, after a long day, he just wanted to collapse into bed. But he remembered the doctor's words, "The bacteria in your mouth don't sleep when you do." That thought pushed him to the sink every night. Within a few weeks, he noticed that his breath stayed fresh longer, and he no longer felt the unpleasant taste in his mouth when waking up. His gums stopped bleeding, and his smile felt brighter. He even started smiling more often, no longer self-conscious about his mouth. The transformation was gradual but steady. By the 3rd week, he realized something astonishing: his energy was back. He no longer felt tired climbing the stairs. He didn't need 3 cups of coffee to stay awake at work. The frequent colds disappeared. He even started jogging in the mornings, a habit he had abandoned years ago. His body was rewarding him for the care he was finally giving it. One evening, his friend Imran visited him. They sat in the living room, sipping tea, when Imran suddenly asked, "What's going on with you? You look healthier, sharper. Did you join a gym or something?" Asan laughed. "Not a gym. Just started taking hygiene seriously. You won't believe how much it changes your health." Imran looked skeptical. So Hassan told him everything the doctor had explained, the 7 mistakes, the warnings, and the solutions. By the end of it, Imran sat quietly, deep in thought. "Man," he finally said, "I think I make all those mistakes too." They both laughed, but Hassan felt proud. His change was now inspiring others. 1 month after his first visit, Hassan went back to see Drive Saeed for a follow-up. As soon as he walked in, the doctor noticed the difference. His hair looked clean, his nails were trimmed, his skin was clearer, and even the way he carried himself had changed. The doctor smiled warmly. "You've been listening, I see." Hassan nodded. "I didn't realize how much I was hurting myself with small habits. Now, I feel different, stronger." "That's the beauty of it," the doctor replied. "People think health only comes from medicines, but in truth, it starts with the little things you do every day. Hygiene isn't just about looking good, it's about protecting your body from invisible enemies. And you've proven that." As Hassan walked out of the clinic that day, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the doctor who had shown him the truth, gratitude for his body that had responded so well, and gratitude for the second chance he had given himself. He realized that sickness doesn't always come from outside. It often starts with the way we treat ourselves inside our homes, in our bathrooms, in our daily routines. And from that day on, he promised himself something. He would never again ignore the small signals his body gave. He would never again take hygiene lightly. Because he now knew that doctors don't just see sickness in X-rays and blood tests. They see it in the way you live, in the way you care for yourself. And he wanted to make sure that from now on, his hygiene told the story of a man who respected his health.